She was so beautiful that men crossed villages just to see her face. But pride lived in her heart, and what happened next shocked everyone. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more African folktales that teach deep life lessons. In the village of Umuagu, where red earth kissed bare feet and palm trees whispered secrets to the wind, lived a girl named Zainab. Umuagu was not a small village, nor was it large. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone's grandmother, where news traveled faster than Harmattan fire, and where the moonlight at night gathered elders and children alike around stories older than memory itself. Goats roamed freely, women sang as they pounded fufu, and the air always smelled faintly of smoke, palm oil, and soil warmed by the sun. It was in this village that Zainab was born. From the very day she first cried, the old women who washed her tiny body paused and exchanged knowing looks. One of them shook her head slowly and said, "This one will trouble hearts." They were not wrong. Zainab grew like a flower that had never known drought. By the time she reached womanhood, her beauty no longer belonged to Umuagu alone. It spilled into neighboring villages, rode on the backs of traders, and traveled with palm wine tappers who rested under trees and spoke of her face as if it were a story. Zainab was not just beautiful, she was dangerously beautiful. Her skin glowed like the morning sun resting gently on fresh clay, smooth and warm, the kind that made people stare without realizing they were staring. Her eyes were sharp and bright, as though they had seen tomorrow before today arrived, eyes that could silence a noisy room with one glance. Her lips curved naturally into a smile that made promises she never intended to keep. When Zainab walked through the market, the rhythm of life shifted. Women paused mid-bargain, hands frozen above baskets of pepper and okra. Young girls whispered her name with both envy and admiration. Men forgot the prices of yam they came to buy. Some stumbled over their own feet. Others pretended not to look, only to steal glances when they thought no one noticed. Zainab walked slowly, deliberately, her wrapper always tied just right, her head held high as if the village path itself existed only to carry her. And Zainab knew it. She knew the way heads turned when she passed. She noticed how greetings lingered longer on her name. She heard the sighs, the murmurs, the foolish laughter of young men trying to appear brave. Each reaction fed something inside her, something quiet at first, like a small ember glowing beneath ash. As the years passed, that ember grew. Zainab began to measure herself not by character, but by reaction. She learned to enjoy the power of silence when men waited for her response. She enjoyed delaying her replies, watching hope rise and fall in their eyes like tides. Soon, admiration no longer pleased her. It ruled her. Her mother, Mama Zainab, noticed the change early. She was a hard-working woman with lines on her face carved by years of sun and sacrifice. One evening, as Zainab braided her hair by the doorway, her mother spoke gently. "My daughter," she said, "beauty is a gift, but it is not a shield. Carry it with wisdom." Zainab smiled without turning. "Mother," she replied, "do not worry. Beauty like mine cannot fade." Her mother sighed, the kind of sigh that carries fear but knows it will not be heard. As Zainab's beauty ripened, so did the attention. Suitors came in numbers that startled the village. They did not come empty-handed. They came with goats tied with rope, with bags of cowries, with jars of palm wine, with promises spoken boldly and shyly alike. Young farmers with strong backs came, hopeful and nervous. Hunters came, smelling of the forest and pride. Traders came with polished sandals and smooth tongues. Even men older than her father sent emissaries, believing wealth could speak louder than age. But Zainab rejected them all. At first, she did it quietly, with polite smiles and distant excuses. "I am not ready," she would say. "My spirit has not agreed. Come back another time." But soon, politeness bored her. Rejection turned into comparison. Comparison turned into contempt. "This one walks like a goat," she said of one man. "That one talks too much," she said of another. "And this one," she laughed openly once, "does he think muscles can replace sense?" The village began to murmur. Some admired her boldness. Others shook their heads. The elders noticed too. One afternoon, under the old Iroko tree where age met wisdom, an elderly woman called Neka stopped Zainab as she passed. "Child," she said, gripping her walking stick, "your beauty is loud, but your heart is becoming louder." Zainab chuckled. "Grandmother," she replied, "if people are pained, let them cover their ears." The old woman's eyes darkened, not with anger, but with sadness. "Remember this," she said. "The drum that sounds too proudly is the first to tear." Zainab walked away, her laughter floating behind her like dust in sunlight. By now, her pride had fully bloomed. She no longer saw men as people. She saw them as reflections, mirrors meant to confirm her greatness. Each rejection made her feel higher, untouchable, like someone standing on a hill laughing at those below. Sometimes late at night, she would sit alone and imagine a husband worthy of her. Not a man of Umwagu, no, someone greater, someone unreal, someone who would make other women bow just by standing beside her. And if such a man did not exist, then she would remain alone and worshipped. That was the lie pride whispered into her heart. In Umwagu, the moon still rose, the drums still beat, the palm trees still whispered, but slowly, quietly, something unseen was listening. And Zainab did not know that her beauty, which spoke louder than her heart, was already calling something she was not prepared to meet. Suitors came in plenty. They came like the rains that followed a long, dry season, unexpected, heavy, and relentless. Word of Zainab's beauty had traveled far beyond Umuagu, carried by traders, hunters, and travelers who swore they had seen a woman whose face could bend a man's destiny. The first to arrive in seriousness was Mazi Okachukwu, a wealthy palm wine tapper whose name was known in 3 neighboring villages. He was not a young man, but his back was strong, his hands steady, and his barns were never empty. On the morning he came, his compound buzzed with preparation. Goats bleated, calabashes of fresh palm wine were sealed, and his relatives rehearsed respectful greetings. When he arrived at Zainab's father's compound, elders followed him, carrying kola nuts and speaking carefully chosen words. "We come with peace," they said, "and with intention." Zainab listened from inside, her face calm, her heart already bored. When she finally stepped out, the palm wine tapper smiled, hopeful. She glanced at the gifts, then at him, and laughed. "This one?" she said aloud, not bothering to lower her voice. "Is this who they think is fit for me? He smells like tree bark and old wine." The elders froze. Mazi Okachukwu's smile collapsed like a hut in a storm. Before anyone could speak, Zainab turned and walked away, leaving humiliation behind her like footprints in dust. The village murmured for days. Then came Abara, the hunter. He was young, tall, and broad-shouldered, with scars on his arms that spoke of battles with wild beasts. He brought smoked antelope meat, carefully wrapped, and stood proudly as he spoke. "I may not be rich," he said, "but no harm will touch you while I live." Some women nodded. Some men whispered approval. Zainab studied him slowly from his feet to his face. Then she wrinkled her nose. "You sweat too much," she said. "A woman like me cannot marry the smell of the forest." Laughter burst from a few foolish mouths before shame swallowed it. Abara stood silent, jaw clenched, eyes burning, not with anger but with wounded pride. He picked up his gifts and left without a word. More came. A young trader with polished sandals and clever speech. A respected farmer with lands that stretched far, a quiet healer whose herbs saved lives. Zainab rejected them all. "This one is too poor. That one is too short. This one talks like a child. That one does not deserve to stand beside my beauty." At first, people still made excuses for her. She is young. She knows her worth. Maybe she is waiting for destiny. But as time passed, rejection turned into something uglier, mockery. Zainab no longer waited for men to approach privately. She humiliated them openly in places where words cut deepest. In the market, she laughed loudly when a man greeted her with interest. "Is it my beauty that is disturbing you?" she would say. "Go and fetch water for your mother." Once, when a family sent elders to speak on behalf of their son, Zainab listened impatiently, then waved her hand dismissively. "Tell him," she said, "that dreams are free, but reality is expensive." The elders left in silence, their faces tight with shame. Her name, once spoken with awe, began to gather bitterness. Parents warned their sons. Mothers whispered prayers for their daughters. Men avoided her path, not because she was no longer beautiful, but because beauty that wounds becomes feared. The worst came on a hot afternoon in the market square. The market was crowded, voices clashed, chickens flapped, dust rose. A young man, emboldened by friends, greeted Zainab respectfully and hinted at his interest. Before anyone could pull him back, Zainab burst into laughter so loud it sliced through the noise. "A woman like me," she announced, hands on her hips, "should marry a spirit, not a man." Silence fell, then nervous laughter. then whispers. The young man stood frozen, eyes wide as if struck. His friends pulled him away, their heads bowed. Some women covered their mouths, others shook their heads openly. That day, the elders could no longer stay silent. They gathered beneath the Iroko tree, the place where matters of the heart and land were judged. Zainab was summoned. She arrived confidently, walking as though she were doing them a favor. The oldest woman among them, her hair white like ash, spoke slowly. "Child," she said, "we have watched you. We have listened. Beauty is a visitor. It does not sleep forever in one house." Others nodded. Another elder added, "Pride is a sharp knife. It cuts the hand that holds it." Zainab smiled. Not a soft smile, not a respectful one. A smile filled with certainty. "When my beauty leaves," she replied calmly, "let the world end with it." A hush fell over the gathering. Even the wind seemed to pause. The elders exchanged troubled glances. No one argued with her. Wisdom, when thrown at a closed heart, only bruises itself. Zainab turned and walked away, her wrapper swaying, her chin high. That night, under the moonlight, the village felt uneasy. Dogs barked without reason. The wind moved strangely through the palms. Somewhere beyond Umuagu, something listened. And Zainab, wrapped in pride and praise, slept peacefully, unaware that she had spoken words the world had heard. Her laughter still echoed in the hearts she had bruised, and every echo was a step closer to a reckoning she could not yet imagine. One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon and painted the sky with streaks of fire and ash, a stranger entered Umuagu. It was the kind of evening that made people uneasy without knowing why. The air was thick and restless. Chickens returned early to their roosts. Dogs whined and circled instead of sleeping. Even the palm trees stood stiff, their leaves barely whispering. The stranger appeared at the edge of the village path just as the sun dipped low. His silhouette stretched long against the red earth. No one saw where he came from. One moment the path was empty. The next, he was there. He was tall, neither thin nor heavy, dressed simply in a plain wrapper that showed no sign of wealth or poverty. His feet were dusty like those of a traveler, but his posture was calm, unhurried. His face carried no struggle, no desperation. His eyes were the most unsettling part, deep, steady, and quiet, as though they had seen many endings and were not afraid of another beginning. As he walked into Umuagu, conversations slowed. People noticed him without meaning to, not because he was loud or grand, but because he seemed untouched by the curiosity that ruled the village. He did not stare. He did not ask questions. He did not pause to admire anything, not the market stalls, not the goats, not even the people. It was as though Umuagu existed for him, not the other way around. Zainab was returning from the stream when their paths crossed. She carried her water pot with practiced grace, her wrapper neatly tied, her beauty glowing softly in the dying light. As usual, heads turned. As usual, murmurs followed. But the stranger did not stop walking. For the first time in a long while, Zainab noticed someone who did not look twice. Something stirred in her chest. Not admiration, not anger, but surprise. When he finally greeted her, it was simple. "Good evening," he said. No exaggerated bow, no trembling voice, no eager smile, just words, calm and measured. Zainab paused. "Good evening," she replied slowly, studying him. The stranger met her gaze easily, without hunger, without fear. That alone unsettled her. By the time they reached the village square, people had begun to gather, pretending not to watch while watching all the same. Strangers were rare in Umuagu, and this one carried an air that did not beg for acceptance. The stranger stopped. "I wish to marry you," he said. The words fell into the square like a stone into still water. Silence exploded outward. A woman dropped her basket. A child stopped laughing mid-sound. Men stared openly, unsure whether to laugh or intervene. Zainab blinked, once, then she laughed. It started as a chuckle, soft and disbelieving. Then it grew, loud and ringing, drawing more attention than his words ever had. "You?" she scoffed, looking him up and down. "You wish to marry me?" The stranger nodded. "What do you have?" she asked sharply, already amused. Around them, people leaned closer. This was familiar territory for Zainab, another man about to be dismantled by her words. The stranger answered softly, "Only myself." Her laughter burst free, sharper than before. "Only yourself?" she repeated loudly. "Do you hear this man?" Some people laughed nervously. Others shifted uncomfortably. "Then go," Zainab said, waving her hand as though brushing away dust. "I don't marry emptiness." The insult landed hard. In the past, men had pleaded, They had defended themselves. They had grown angry or ashamed. This one did none of that. The stranger simply nodded. As you wish, he said. He turned to leave, but after taking a few steps, he stopped. The wind stirred suddenly, brushing through the square like a warning. He looked back at Zainab, not with anger, not with sorrow, with certainty. As you have judged others, he said, his voice low but clear, so shall you be judged. A chill ran through the gathering. Before anyone could respond, he walked away, disappearing down the same path he had come from. No one followed him. No one called out. It was as though the village itself had decided to let him go. Zainab scoffed again, though something in her smile faltered. Another fool, she muttered. But that night, sleep did not come easily. The wind howled strangely, louder than usual, rattling rooftops and shaking trees. Doors creaked. Flames in cooking fires flickered unnaturally. Dogs barked and then fell silent as if silenced by unseen hands. Zainab lay awake, staring into the dark. The stranger's words echoed in her mind, uninvited. As you have judged others, so shall you be judged. She turned to her side, annoyed with herself. Empty words, she whispered. Yet her heart beat faster than usual. Outside, the moon hid behind clouds. Somewhere beyond the village, thunder rolled softly, though no rain fell. In Umuagu, elders lay awake, troubled by a feeling they could not name. And Zainab, wrapped in beauty and pride, did not yet know that dusk had carried more than a stranger into her life. It had carried the beginning of an answer. By morning, whispers spread through Umuagu like smoke that could not be trapped. Zainab's face had changed. It began subtly, almost gently, as though the night had brushed against her skin and taken something with it. The glow that once lived there dimmed. Her skin, once warm and radiant, dulled like clay, left too long in the shade. Her eyes lost their sharp shine, the light in them fading as if a lamp had been turned low. Then the marks appeared, dark, uneven shadows creeping across her cheeks and forehead, slow and deliberate, like something claiming its due. At first, Zainab told herself it was nothing. Perhaps she was tired, perhaps the moonlight had played tricks on her mirror. She washed her face again and again, scrubbing until her skin burned, whispering prayers she had not spoken in years. But the mirror did not change its mind. Within days, her beauty faded completely. Not in a single moment, but in stages, each more painful than the last. Each morning revealed something else gone. Smoothness replaced by roughness, confidence replaced by fear, pride replaced by silence. The village noticed. The same men she had mocked now avoided her gaze. They did not laugh. They did not insult her in return. They simply looked away as if afraid her fall might brush against them too. Children pointed openly, whispering her name without reverence. Women lowered their voices when she passed, some with pity, others with quiet satisfaction. Zainab felt the weight of every look. For the first time, the path through the market felt long. For the first time, greetings were short and uncertain. She walked faster, her head bowed, her heart pounding with a fear she had never known. One afternoon, unable to bear it anymore, she ran to the river. The river had always been honest with her. It had once reflected her beauty faithfully, obediently. She knelt by its edge, breath shaking, and looked down. The water did not lie. The face that stared back at her was not the one she had built her world upon. It was older somehow, sadder, stripped of the power she once wielded so carelessly. Zainab cried out, a raw sound torn from her chest. She splashed the water violently, as if anger could change reflection into memory. But the river flowed on, indifferent. That night, despair drove her beyond the village, past the farms, past the familiar trees, into the forest where shadows gathered thick and secrets lived long. She fell to her knees among the roots and leaves. If this is punishment I have learned, she cried. If my beauty offended the world, take it all, just give me peace. The forest answered with silence. Then the wind shifted, the leaves stirred, and the stranger stepped forward from between the trees. He looked exactly as he had before, untouched by time, untouched by consequence, calm eyes, simple clothing, a presence that steadied the air around him. Zainab did not need to ask who he was. She collapsed before him, her pride finally broken beyond repair. You were never cursed, he said gently. Your pride simply outgrew your humanity. His words did not cut. They settled. She wept, her tears soaking the earth beneath her. I see now, she begged. I thought beauty was power. I thought people existed to admire me. Please, I forgot they were human. Take my beauty, leave it gone. Just give me peace. The stranger knelt and touched her forehead. His hand was warm. In that moment, something lifted from her chest, not her appearance, but the burden she had carried for so long without knowing it. The hunger to be praised, the fear of being ordinary, the need to stand above others to feel whole. When she opened her eyes, he was gone. No sound marked his departure, no footprints remained. Only stillness. Zainab returned to Umwagu quietly. She did not regain her former beauty. The dark marks remained. The glow did not return. Those who expected a sudden miracle were disappointed. But something else came back to her, her kindness, her humility, her ability to look at people and see souls, not ornaments. She greeted people first now. She listened. She apologized to those who would hear her and even to those who would not. She worked alongside her mother without complaint. She helped women in the market. She spoke gently to children who once pointed at her. Slowly, the village adjusted. Time passed, as it always does. Years later, Zainab married a quiet farmer. He was not rich, he was not famous. He spoke little and worked much. He loved her steadily, without worship and without fear. He did not choose her because of her face. He chose her because of her heart. Under moonlight, elders still tell this story to the young ones gathered around the fire. They speak of Zainab, not as a warning against beauty, but as a lesson about pride. They say that beauty without humility is a borrowed garment, and pride is the only mirror that lies until it is too late. Moral: your beauty may open doors, but your character decides who stays. That beauty can announce you to the world, but only character allows you to remain. That pride may lift you high for a moment, but humility is what gives you ground to stand on. And that no face, no matter how perfect, is greater than the heart that carries it. If this story taught you something, like this video so more people can learn this lesson, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Comment what part of the story touched you the most, and most especially subscribe for more African folktales that reveal deep truths, powerful morals, and stories passed from generation to generation. Until the next story, remember, your beauty may open doors, but your character decides who stays.